But the connected tzaddikim is natural, so you make any effort in that way, and you get connections. Why shouldn't you? How does it work? Because that's what we strived for. We strive for tzidkus.
We're rolling.
You're rolling. Welcome to Pnimis HaTorah Parshas Beshalach. I'm woefully underprepared. This is a parsha that would be natural to have like so much to say, but as everybody knows, Mahaltzach in a bit Shemar Tzagolus, and it's not always shaykh to be totally prepared when you're unprepared. Okay. But let's start with a little bit of Musar. From the Kedusha Tzion Rabben Tzion Bobover, the father of Rabbi Shlomo Bobover from Brooklyn, and Rabben Tzion Bobover, he was actually Hashem Yinkan Damov, was killed in World War II by the Nazis, and he was obviously a very, very high-level person. It's always interesting to see what he has in his safe over here. He has B'derach Musar, B'taichap, the beginning pasuk in this week's parasha. Beshalach paras Amar Nachem Lakim Dachar Plushim Ki Karvu Ki Yon Alakim Penyanachim Ha'am Reisim Machama V'Shav Mitzrayim. So he touches it up as a. He says, in the time, this is pre-World War II, but there was a time in Klal Yisrael's history that in Europe before the war, and starting from the late 1800s and 1900s, things were getting a little frisky in Europe. There are many communities where people were getting enlightened and they're getting caught up in technology. The famous story of the Chavetz Chaim's granddaughter told the Chavetz Chaim, the Zayda, like you're sitting in a small shtetl in Radin over here. There's a whole world out there of technology. They're inventing all sorts of amazing things, and this is an enlightenment. This is going to change our entire existence. She says about they're creating airplanes, right? The story. They're making airplanes. What's airplanes? Airplanes are they make these huge machines with huge wings like birds, and people go in them and they fly across the entire world. It's amazing what they're doing with technology. Zayda, you're missing the boat. And the Chavetz Chaim told them what's all this technology going to do? They're going to fill up those airplanes with bombs, and they're going to destroy the world with it. And they think they're advancing themselves. They're not advancing themselves, right? It's just all this technology is just leading to disaster, to destruction. And what's amazing is you see
that in reference to World War II, or
it's World War II. Yeah,
he really said that.
Yeah. And you just have to look at technology now. Everyone thinks we're so technologically advanced. We have AI. That's the latest. That's the wave of the future. What's going to happen? Parents are going to turn on their AI, and the kids are going to interact with the AI. Well, why have to raise my kids? I can just have AI. Why have to do anything? Just put on the AI. You know what I'm saying? And I'll sit around and just I'll create my own AI. But it's like the chlal, you can't get anyone to work nowadays. It's like there's like this tremendous conundrum. There's so many jobs available. No one wants them. Why should anyone want a job? You just like people are just so distracted and bogged down by technology. They have no ability to even pull themselves up and do a job. Not everyone is like a shy over here. They're bogged down. They're just like totally confused. Totally, there's just zero ability to focus on anything, let alone to take a job. And this is where technological advances lead us to. And it's so clear, I'm saying, when I was growing up, Rabbi would tell you over the Rambam. The Rambam says that, when the whole door is corrupted, what do you have to do? You have to go out to the midbar. You just have to leave society. Just give up, pack yourself up, move out to the midbar, buy yourself a farm in Howell, right? And just forget it, right? And when I was a kid, it's like, size not that bad. Things aren't that bad. You know what I'm saying? But it really gets to the point now. Like you don't have to be a big tzaddik to walk around the streets and just recognize that this is going no place fast, and it's really picking up. It's really snowballing, and this is what the Kedusha Tzion wants to say Musa on the first parsha, the first pasuk of the parsha. He says, "Azay, it's going to come a time." And it was just happening at the time of the Kedusha Tzion that people are going to start thinking, Time to get a little more modernized. Until now we only sat in the shtetl, we learned that we daven, we knew nothing else. But there's all sorts of hischachas, right? And we need to educate ourselves. We have to learn the language of the goyim. We have to dress a little more modern. We have to cut our hairstyles like them. And what ends up happening is that if this is going to raise your children and you're going to start exposing them to society, what's going to be? Very soon they'll be exposed to a lot more than they could chew, and before you know it, right, the Yetzer Hara is going to be all over them, and that's it. You lose the generation. Masha Enkin, what's the derech lishari? Derech lishari is just totally insulate yourself. Mamish, you have to just machavek with the whole society, and children just tire. What's going to be with parnasa? What's going to be with education? Not negeya, right? Just insulate yourself with Torah and Europe, and forget about all these other chachmas. And with this, you'll be batuach that your children are going to go b'derech Hashem. So he says this is the pasuk. He wants to touch us up in the pasuk. The Klal Yisrael is chus that nigel Mitzrayim. One of the reasons is shloshinu es l'shoinam, right? That they l'shinus l'shoinam, right? They didn't change the levush, right? L'shinus es shmam l'shoinam mabusham, right? So he says l'shoinam because he'll go onto mabusham and also shmam, right? So he says, Beshalach paras. He says paras was that Hashem was like Nachem Elokim derech eretz plishtim. Right, that when you lead Klal Yisrael, you don't take them derech eretz plishtim. What's derech eretz plishtim? To start exposing yourself to the darkei hagayim. Why? Ki karevhu, because even though you're saying what I'm doing is just good education, and we're just giving them a broad view of society. Ki karevhu. This is like going. It's very close to being schlepped into a bira mikta. Once you start with exposing yourself to the derech olam, it just opens up more and more drachim. And he says that kikaravu, it's very close to falling into a bira mikta, into a deep pit. And kiyar malakim pen yinachim ma'b'roisim mechama, right? When they see that there's going to be a mechamas hayetzer that's coming from all these intellectual ideals that you're exposing yourself to, right? Pen yinachim ma'b'roisim mechama, right? V'shav mitzrayma. Right, he says, "Meitzar Yama." They're going to fall into this umka d'tahim. Right, once you start exposing them to derech eretz plishtim, which is derech eretz of the goyim, which is just good manners. This is just to be socially appropriate. Right, kikarafu pen yinachim ma'aberois machaba. They're not going to be able to survive the mechemes hayetzer. V'shav mitzrayim means they're going to fall into the meitzar of the yam, into the umka d'tahim rabbah. Right, into umka d'tahim rabbah is the depth of the Koich Zatuma. Meila Bayasiv Elkim is Derech HaMidbar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Klal Yisrael Derech HaMidbar. What's Derech HaMidbar? Derech HaMidbar, Derech HaTorah. Like the Gemara says, right, that Torah is only Miskayim El Shemish Meisim Atzmei K'Midbar. Midbar Matana, right, is refers to that a person makes himself like a Midbar, he gets Torah. Right, you have to totally, right, like we just said from the Rambam, right, that Torah, that your lifestyle of Torah is preserved. When you bamish, you literally move out to the midbar, or you function as if you're in a midbar, right? That you know nothing else other than derech hatayra, right? Derech yamsuf, right? Yamsuf, he says, is Indian of tahira, right? The yam is mitar like a mikvah. That you should learn Torah b'tahira, and when a person does this, this is going to give your children. He's going to give your family. It's going to protect them. It's going to give them the means to protect themselves, to defend themselves. They're going to be armed, connected to the Yetzer Hara, and in Mela, you're going to be able to overcome the Yetzer Hara. Mashen Kain, when you let in society into your homes, then kikarafu to fall into the umka d'tahim rabbah chas v'shalom. That is a little musa from the Kedushas Tziyun. We're holding down Shaivavim. And Shaivim is man, where the person, the Av, or I should say the Midah, the tzaddik that is really the king of Shaivim is really Yosef tzaddik, right? Shaivim is man for Tikkunim and Kedusha, and in the Midah of tzaddik. The Midah of tzaddik is someone that's totally dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Which means that his focus is not distracted. Right? Once a person gets distracted, like we said, you should see, and who knows how far this distraction comes. They tell the guys like, oh, you're sitting in there watching whatever they're watching. Oh, I just watched comedy. Yeah, you watch comedy, you laugh, and before you know it, once you're distracted with a comedy, very soon you move over to the next type of entertainment, right? And it's everything is a gateway to undermine a person's kedusha, and you may shave him as a man of focusing on midas Yosef Tzaddik. Yosef Tzaddik is totally connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? He's Tzaddik Yisod Olam. He's the foundation that there's nothing going to disrupt this connection. So that's the Yosef Midah. Yosef Midah is he takes all the Midas of the Avos, Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, Netzach, and Hod, and then everything is funneled into a connection, right? Yosef Midah is Yisod. Yisod is like it's in the ground, right? We spoke about once about time. This Yosef always finds himself in the ground. He's embedded in the Aretz, right? Yosef is put into a bar. We said this is Miram, is that he has to make a connection between Shemaim and Aretz. The way you make a connection to Olam Hazeh with Kedusha is you literally have to drive a stake, right? How do you connect things into the ground, right? How do you Olam Hazeh is the Arvayda Olam Hazeh is to live on the ground, right? But you have to somehow make a deep connection Shemaim to Aretz. Yosef is that mid of Yisod, which means you dig a foundation, you put it into the ground. Now you're built, and now you're solid footing, or it's like a spike in the ground. You put up a tent, you drive spikes into the ground. That's Midas Yosef. Yosef is always making connections. So it means the connection is Shemaim to Aretz, that we're not getting caught up and distracted in Aretz. We're firmly rooted in Aretz with the connection to Shemaim. That's the Midas of Yosef. And that's the Avodah Yimei Shavim, to really make it, to understand that we are in Olam Hazeh, but our Olam Hazeh is not distracted. And that is the Midas of Yosef, of Yisod Yosef. I was thinking, Yosef is always put into a bar, right? The Shvatim put him into a bar, and Mitzrayim he's put into a bar. He's digging bars, he's putting all the rechush Mitzrayim he's putting into a bar. This is Midah of Yosef. He's carving out Olam Hazeh an ability of a foundation.
Moshe was put into a bar.
I don't know the Chumash that says that, but you said Medrash says that. Yeah. Yeah. But Moshe and Yosef obviously have a very very close connection, right? That's Moshe in this week's parasha. Moshe is Asaf Yosef Imai. So it's interesting. Yosef's midah of functioning and bringing kayach to Klal Yisrael is when he is connected to the ground, right? I just thought it's interesting. It's a little bit wacky, but I think it's an interesting thought. The Mitzrayim, they obviously want to. The Mitzrayim obviously want to. They don't want Yosef's midah having an effect on Klal Yisrael long term, right? They want Yosef. He had his connection. Now we want Klal Yisrael by us. We don't want that. We want to distract them. Yosef is an ability for Klal Yisrael to stay totally focused, and the Mitzrayim's job is to somehow disconnect midas Yosef from Klal Yisrael. That's why the Mitzrayim would never allow in a million years for Yosef to leave Mitzrayim after he was nifted to be buried in the Maras Machpelah. Burying Yosef in the Maras Machpelah would be literally, ensconcing him, right, setting him up in Eretz Yisrael with a total connection. Midas Yosef now in Eretz Yisrael, totally connected, and in the ground, like we said, is rumors to this fact that he literally makes a foundation. Not only that, they don't even allow Yosef to be buried in the ground, right? Yosef has to stay above ground. You have to keep him above ground, right? They're gonna just walk off with him and bury him in Eretz Yisrael. So what do? Put him into the Yam Suf, right? So I was just thinking like that would maybe be like a remiss to what was going on. Yosef, his midah is to make connections. They're not going to allow Yosef to be buried regularly to make this connection. I think that the Indian Bechlal of burying people ba'aretz is this idea, right? That the Indian of Aretz is where the Iker Tikkun of Adam comes from. You have to make a Tikkun ba'aretz, and ultimately, right, the person being buried in Aretz as a tzaddik, as Hashem, means putting this Tikkun in Aretz. But Yosef had to be. At least the Mitzrayim's goal was to prevent this from happening. And after that's what would be a kavanah of theirs. The Moshe Rabbeinu, he is the one that's responsible for taking Yosef out of Mitzrayim. So I was thinking like this: Vayikach Moshe es atzmos Yosef imay, right? that Yosef is the tikkun for tikkun abris. Now tikkun abris or chet pegam in pegam abris is referred to as a pegam in basar, right? Because
Was it like a
basar is flesh.
blemish? No.
Pagam, yeah, blemish, yeah. It's a chorban, it's a kilkel. It's something that is it's destructiveness of the basar, right? Hishkes kol basar is darker. Al haaretz. It says in Parashas Noach, Hishkes kol basar is darker. Haaretz refers to pagam bris that they were Moitzizel about Tolan, right? That's in B'Shas Mabel, right? That's the Moitzizel about Tolan. They were in they spilling their yes. Okay, and that's called kish is called basar because why? Because the aver habris is basar. It's, most avarim have bones, and there's basar on top of it, right? And the aver habris, right, is only basar. Kish is called basar. The aver, which is called basar, but they were mashkas it. And this is what we say about that on Shalosh Regalim, that called basar's balish tachavos lefanai, which means a person to come to the Beis Hamikdash, the kol basar has to be balish tachas lefanai, meaning the aver, which is kol basar, which is the greatest drive of a person to disconnect from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The kol basar tachas lefanai, even that aver has to be the tachas lefanai.
Has to be what?
The tachas lefanai. It says by Aliyah Regal, you come about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you subjugate yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bowing and showing that you're about yourself. You subjugate. Right. Yeah, same kol basar, right? But it's like high. So, but Yava kol basar lishtachavos lefanai means that a yid that's totally connected means his midah of Yosef, which is the midah of Yosef, which is what rules over the drive of kol basar, right? This is the inyan of Yosef HaTzadik, right? So it says Yosef HaTzadik is his midah is to overcome basar, right? Yosef HaTzadik, when he's in atzamai state, atzmais Yosef means that we're not that kilo just atzamais no basar, right? Yosef is atzmais Yosef is that a person leads his life as if he has no basar, right? He lives his life in atzamais form, without the draw of basar, right? The draw of basar is going to be described. The kol basar is obviously is descriptive of the basar of a person, but the aver, which is kol basar, basar again is going to be associated with the drive of the aver, which is kol basar. So Yosef HaTzadik in the bechin of atzmis Yosef, this describes a tikkun of the pegam habasar. That's what I was thinking of. I was thinking that in Shaivavim, this is what we're holding this is where we're holding. This is the tikkun, right? You get to Shavim. Shavim is 6 weeks, right? Once you get to, the first 3 weeks has to be Muhammad. Every time you have a period of growth. So first you struggle, and you get to a turning point where you go from struggle to making tikkunim, right? When you get to Shmais Ve'er Boy, these are the months of struggle. The Makkah signify the Kasha, by this Perach. And Klal Yisrael having to still deal with Shibud Mitzrayim means you're struggling to get a handle on the Nisyonis. You get what? Right. You start getting to Shvat, right? And you get into Shvat. You get the Parshas Beshalach where the tide is turning in your favor, and that's what happens at that point. Beshalach is Vayikach Moshe Atzmis Yosef Ima. At this point, Yosef's midah is already being brought to the fore, right? Yosef's midah is already having its hashpah, and the calling of the basar is being overwhelmed by the atzmis Yosef, which is connection minus the basar. That is a little bit about Shavivim, and as we know that ultimately, right, the Hayam Rav Hayon is Mara, right? Arayna Yosef is ultimately. Like this, when you have this foundation in Klal Yisrael, then nothing stands in Klal Yisrael's way. Just I said many years ago, on Mara. After Klal Yisrael comes through Kriyas Yamsuf, so they go 3 days, right? Right? And they come 3 days later. And they come tomorrow, and the water is bitter. They can't drink it. And so they come to Moshe Rabbeinu, they complain, what's going to be? Vayitzak el Hashem, they cry to Hashem, Vayireu Hashem eitz. Hashem showed them the eitz, some sort of tree. Vayashach hamayim, they threw this wood into the water. Vayimtuk hamayim, the water got sweet. And Sham Sam Lechayk Mishvav Sham. So and he gave them parashas of the Torah. He gave them Shabbos. He gave them Kibbutz Avim. He gave them Paraduma. He gave them Shabbos, Paraduma, and Dinim. Or maybe Kibbutz Avim. What the different gear stories of what mitzvahs were given. So what's going on over here? It's just an interesting story, right? What's the deeper story over here? They just finished Kriyas Yamsuf. Zekeli Mandeu Mashroshif Chayam Leira Yichaska Bambuzi. Klal Yisrael is on the highest madrega, right? And immediately coming out of this highest madrega, you would think that, okay, let's go get the Torah and let's continue building. No water, right? They went 3 days without water, and when they finally find water, they can't drink from the water because it's mar, it's bitter. And then comes the tree, and it's no longer bitter. What's going on over here? So I was thinking like this: Klal Yisrael, they leave Mitzrayim, and Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, okay, welcome to Klal Yisrael, right? Welcome to the club, right? What's the club? Well, the club is that we destroy the mitzvim, and we have Bizas Hayam, we have Nisim and the flies, right? And Gavaldik is flying high. Look, Nevuah, right? Klal Yisrael is flying high. They passed the Nevuah now, and all of a sudden, after every tremendous Isgalus, what's afterwards? After you have a tremendous Isgalus, you have a tremendous enlightenment. After every good spell in Avodas Hashem is inevitably time to recalibrate, right? You go up. There's always going to be a certain amount of turbulence, right? Sure. It's a sign that you're alive, right? You have a pulse, right? You go up, you feel connected, disconnected. Okay, Klal Yisrael is the first disconnection. They got all the way up, right? Now all of a sudden they have to start facing reality as Yidden. Okay, and they say that this is shver, right? This is mar, right? The Torah, right, which means a person has to stay connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even things are bitter. They say, what do this is what we signed up for. We signed up for godless. We signed up for Nisim. We signed up for Bizas Hayam. We signed up for the pride of destroying the mitzvah. And all of a sudden, we're living in a day to day with Torah. Right? And Torah seems to be bitter all of a sudden. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He shows them the eitz. Vayirei Hashem eitz. He shows them the eitz. What is the eitz? Eitz is Torah. Eitz chaim machazigim ba. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Klal Yisrael that you think that being alive is a party. Tachas HaChaim is just to sit and celebrate and be high on Torah, be high on Ruchnius. Being high is Olam Haba. Right? Olam Hazeh, right, is struggle. And we just saw Chavetz Chaim today. The Avos Rav Nosson says that Pam echas b'tzar is equal to 100 pamim. Excuse me, Pam echas b'tzar is equal to 100 pamim of shalai b'tzar. Meaning you can do 100 times avodah without tzar. It's going easy for you, right? You get the same value of doing the same thing one time with difficulty. Every difficulty is giving you 100% return on what you're doing. Right, and that's a tachas achim, because that's accomplishment. Having difficulty. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed them the eitz chaim machazikim. But what is life? Life is accomplishment, right? This is your life, right? Eitz chaim machazikim. When you machzik in Torah, when it's not easy, but this is what gives you life. This is literally what's going to connect you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because when you struggle to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you actually make the connection, and when you're sitting back and enjoying HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're not making a connection, right? That's the yafa sha'achas b'Torah ma'asim tovim in Olam Hazeh. Mikol chai Olam haba, because in Olam Hazeh, when you struggle and you make connections, so you're accomplishing. You're actually making a connection. Right? Making a connection is to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is an unbelievable zchus that we have. And enjoying that connection is worth a lot less than actually making it. And Vayirei Hashem eitz. Now they understood that Torah is zis, that even though Torah, that it has a struggle to it, but Torah is ultimately zis, because this is chaim, and there's nothing sweeter than the opportunity of life. We should be zeicher to recognize the sweetness of life, and even life that seems to have a certain amount of difficulty to it, but it's sweet because this is our opportunity to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing sweeter than making relationships and literally being kaina, our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
כן.
עד כאן.
ביי.